Hi everyone, welcome to this new podcast of Perspective. Through these informational podcasts, I want guys to discover new things about which you have never heard. And to do that, I call upon people who are experts in their respective fields and have quite a lot of learnings through that process. So today's podcast is going to be about product management, and to actually give a boost to this podcast, I have Arijit with me. I know Arijit because he mentored me exactly a year back, if I'm not wrong. I think it's 8 or 9 months, and he has given me direction, which has helped me shape my career a lot. I was at a juncture where a lot of people, anywhere across the board in every career, they basically need a mentor in their lives. Which and Arijit has been that kind of temporary mentor, I would say, who basically gave me a sort of direction. Like I was going in a straight path of beam where I didn't know what I had to do. He basically deflected that and told me where to channelize my energy. So our basic conversation was about choosing between product management and product marketing management. I was basically confused at that point, and Arijit came in and told me what's the basic difference between those, how the days of product marketing manager and product management goes. He also gave me in-depth idea of what tasks and expectations are basically expected out of a product manager and a product marketing manager. So this podcast is going to be totally about a product manager. We'll ask a lot of questions to Arijit. So if you are maybe interested in becoming the mini CEO of an organization, or you want to entirely handle a product, you want to be the boss man of your product, which whatever you're launching, you have to hear this conversation because Arijit is great at that. He has been working in Ixigo and Housing.com. Recently, he has moved to Wink Music also. So Arijit, I'll basically just start off from here. I think that it's a long intro for someone. Yeah, and like without any further ado, like I would just ask you the first very basic question of product management. So, Arijit, like before even we start, can you explain your background and your overall journey to becoming a product manager? And how did you start? Where did you start?
Sure. So first of all, Sagar, thank you for having me, and thank you for such a wonderful intro. Right. I mean, it was a lot of exaggeration. I feel. I mean, I'm not that great. The way you made me sound, but really, I mean, really appreciate that. I'm really glad that you are getting to do what you actually wanted to do. I'm really happy that I played uh, a role, if not significant, but yeah, I did play a role in sort of. Showing you the path. So I'm really happy for that, right? Okay. Yeah. My journey has been really interesting, if I may say. I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life. I started, you know, so back in college, I was actually studying something that's completely different from what I'm doing today, right? So I was studying power systems engineering, right? And I was absolutely not fond of it at all. I mean, I used to hate it, right? I actually sucked at it, to be frank. The only subjects that I was good at.
What was that? What was that you were doing? Which engineering was it?
Power systems engineering. So it's like yeah, yeah, power systems engineering. Yes. So I completely sucked at it. I mean, I never found it really interesting. I used to get bored. The only subjects that I was good at back in college were mathematics, computer science, and probably professional communication, the English, if you will, right? So yeah, I mean, but I was always passionate about things like graphic design, web design, and development, right? I used to design posters and websites for college events. I used to take up internships where I used to code websites, design graphics, things like that. So not a lot of people know, but ActionScript 3.0, like Flash's programming language, was pretty famous back then. So YouTube's first player was actually built on ActionScript 3, right? And there was a time when I was getting really bored back in my college days, and I actually built my own video player using ActionScript, right?
Oh man, I didn't know this.
Yeah, no, actually, not a lot of people know this, right? It was very simple. It wasn't something fancy. It was just the fact that you upload you upload a file from your computer and you just play it on your local device, right? That's it. That's it. Very basic. Nothing much. So yeah, so I was always passionate about things like this, and one fine day I thought that okay, let's do something about it. Because I didn't want to do I didn't want to get into power systems in a job that had something to do with my current studies, right? So I took a huge risk. I didn't sit for my placements. Uh, there was a huge struggle for a long period of time. I mean, there was like, I think, 1.5 months. I think I sat in my hostel, doing nothing, just applying to different companies, and trying to read something, trying to code more websites, trying to practice design, right? And I think I had applied to 80 different companies, if I'm not wrong. Uh,
80 companies.
80, yeah, 80, yeah. But definitely, I mean, maybe more, but definitely not less than that, right? So out of those companies, only 10 replied, right? At two of them, I got calls, and I was selected at only one of them.
Got it.
Yeah, so just you can just imagine like what the conversion rate was, right? And
Correct.
the situation that I was going through, right? So it was really difficult, but then I finally landed my first job as a UI engineer, right? I used to
Got it.
like code websites in my first company, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I used to design a bit a bit of graphics as well for them, for certain creatives, right? So worked there for a couple of months, didn't feel that I was a good fit over there. So I moved to Ixigo as a UX designer, right? That's when a lot of things happened in my life. I mean, that's when I actually came to know how products work, right? I mean, building a product is not about writing and shipping code, right? That's what I came to know over there, right? It involves a lot of things, right? It involves a lot of uh, uh, gathering user requirements, setting up a business strategy, and then writing code, and then getting it tested, testing it out on users, and then finally releasing it on production, right? So I came to know that and was really fascinated by uh, things that actually happen, right? So yeah, that also I met the first product manager that I ever came across in my life. So I was heavily influenced by the kind of work that he was doing. Uh, I saw him doing the things that I wanted to do. Look at all those numbers. On a day-to-day basis. Talk to customers. Um, you know,
Yeah.
own things, right? Basically get shit done. You interact, you coordinate with people, and then you get shit done.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do,
Correct.
right? So I saw that I understood that a product manager is what I actually wanted to be. Being a designer was actually a path, a road towards getting there, right?
Got it. Got it.
So
Yeah.
that's when I made the move. Made another move actually in my career, and I joined GoIBibo as a PM for the mobile platform, right? And
Correct. Correct.
yeah, so that's how my journey started basically. That's how I got into product management, and all I can say is I've never looked back, and I have never been happier. So yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Like that entire process of owning the product and building it from scratch, and basically having that kind of feeling that this product is mine, and like going through the process of talking to customers, hiring people, making strategies, giving the direction to the overall business. It's basically in your hands. It's basically in the hands of a product manager, and it basically has a lot of responsibility. But this role, I also feel that needs someone who is basically ready to own up to that responsibility. Even if you make a fuck up, you basically like should have the guts to own it up. And only people like that sort of qualify to become product managers. A lot of times the things don't work. and you have basically gone up the budget, used a lot of resources of the company, and basically happens with everyone, right? It's a part of the process. So, as in, mean to say that a product manager owns the product, takes a lot of responsibility, and at the end of the day is responsible for every person. And also, a very important role is to connect to people in terms of being empathizing with with the people we work with, right? So let's say it be a coder or be a designer or be a front end engineer. Anyone has to basically, you have to be in their shoes and and basically understand their perspective towards how they want to basically fit in the organization. So that also
Right.
goes down a lot, right? So also Arijit, like, can you shortly describe product manager in your own terms so that everyone who is listening to this podcast has some context on the entire conversation which we will be having? Yeah.
So, it's good that you added that in your terms, at the end, right? So, I think product manager is a role that's not defined.
Yeah.
Different companies have different uh, takes on product management. I mean, everyone has their own definition,
Correct.
right? But at the core of it, what I feel is product managers are problem solvers. They're
Yeah.
so the way I would put it, you know, is um, a product manager looks for what is the best problem to solve at the given point of time, and then
Correct.
brings everyone on the same page and figures out the
Hmm.
best possible way to solve that problem. That's how I
Yeah.
would put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
It doesn't have to be any digital product, or it doesn't have to be, it can be a physical product as well. I mean, physical products have
Correct.
product
Correct.
managers, by the way. So yeah.
100%.
Like, the term is not product manager, it's something else, but then they basically have a person who owns up to the entire responsibility and
Right,
basically grows
absolutely.
that thing, right? So, Arijit, before starting out, can you tell us the kind of work you did at Ixigo and what Ixigo is all about, so that we have some reference over the kind of a day a product manager goes through, and you can maybe reference any of the companies. Since you have joined your recent company like a week back, I would like you to go back to the experiences you had, maybe in Ixigo or maybe in housing.com. So, like, how was the entire experience there, and how would your day go like? And I know that there is not a particular day which, and all the days don't go same, but you can like give us a context on like how did your day go in housing or maybe Ixigo.
Back in Ixigo, I was actually a designer. I wasn't a product manager, right? So
Yeah.
it was very different from the day of a product manager. Also back then, design was really
Hmm.
different. I mean, today what I see is d- design is it's not just about visual design, right? Back then it was more about visual delight, and I mean, things were changing when I was in Ixigo. So it started with you have to be really good at visual design. Then you have to you have to make things look really pretty. But things were changing.
Correct.
But yeah,
Correct.
the day of a designer is actually very different from the day of a product manager. So I'd rather talk about my time with GoIP1 housing, right?
Okay.
So back in GoIP1 housing, the days were pretty similar. I mean, it started with a lot of so when you're a product manager, you're responsible for a lot of KPIs, right? You're responsible for a lot of metrics, right? So
Yeah.
a typical day, an ideal day for me at in any of the companies was go to work and open up my laptop and look at all the metrics that I'm responsible for, right? So back in Goa, before, I
Correct.
was actually responsible for top of the funnel metrics, right? I was responsible
Got.
for mobile capabilities, right? Platform, basically. So if someone wanted to build a certain capability, right, on the mobile app, right, I was the person that they would reach out to, right? If someone
Hmm.
the marketing team, if they wanted to implement a new offer or a new discount, right, I
Hmm.
was the one who they reach out to, right? So building capabilities
Correct.
and driving top of the funnel, making sure that people go to any of the lines of businesses that we had in Goalvivo, right? Flights, hotels, etc. So, looking at those metrics, okay, today so many people have landed on the homepage, and from there, so many people have gone to, let's say, the flights page, right? Or so many people have seen this offer, right? So, yeah, it's used to start with, looking at metrics, and then, there used to be a lot of meetings, product managers, since they are coordinators, right? They have a lot of meetings. They have to talk to a lot of people, right? So, as a product manager, you should not get annoyed with a lot of meetings, because that's going to happen in your life, right? That's going to happen probably every single day.
Yeah.
Even though I've joined Wink about 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks back, yeah. But if you look at my calendar, it looks really challenging. I mean, I sometimes get scared of my calendar. Like, I have meetings from, let's say, back-to-back meetings from, let's say, 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, then 4 to 4:30, then 4:30 to 5, and then 5 to 5:30, like that, right? It never ends. So, as a product manager, you have to, not get overwhelmed, or not get annoyed of a lot of meetings. So, yeah, typically, you look at um, metrics. You have a lot of meetings. You have your daily stand-ups with your team if you're working on a project at that given point of time, right? So that's how things happen. And if, let's say, there might be instances where you are working on a project, and maybe the developer is stuck on something, or maybe the designer is stuck, right? You have to they will reach out to you, right? And you have to help them out and figure out a solution. That's what you are supposed to do, right? You have to do all the boring things that that lets developers and designers do what they love to do, right?
Correct.
So that's another definition of product manager, by the way. A person who does all the boring things, so that a developer and a designer can do the things that they love to do.
Yeah, basically it's all about owning the product and making everyone else comfortable in the team, and taking stuff on yourself. It's owning a lot of stuff. And talking about authority, right? So in your entire journey, do you feel authority has to be given to a product manager in terms of making huge business decisions? Like, what's that line which separates a product manager from the company owner? Because the roles are very sort of so basically, owner invests their money and they also have the vision, but product manager basically drives the product, and he's the one basically who is with the product 24/7, or maybe like the entire working hours he's spending in the office, right? He's basically so driven towards the product that he sets the vision and he sets a goal where the product has to be taken for end to end, right? So, do you feel that kind of authority to take decisions, which makes the entire process a bit faster, has to be given completely to the product manager? And where would you draw a line if, let's say, you were the company's owner, or let's say you were someone who owns the company? What do you feel in? You can basically go on with that.
So a product manager generally doesn't have a lot of authority. If so a lot of people think that if you're a product manager, you own, if you own a product, basically you own the people as well. But that's not true. Nobody reports to you, right? At least when you're at a product manager or a senior product manager level, right? The only time that people report to you is when you actually become a product lead, where maybe 2 or 3 PMs are reporting to you, right? That's the only time that product managers actually have people who report to them. Nobody reports to you, even though you're a manager, but nobody really reports to you, and you cannot really exercise any kind of authority over them. What you can do is influence people by gaining their trust, right? So that's how a product manager drives things. It's not through authority, but through influence.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's how I would put it. I mean, you have to earn the respect of developers. You have to earn the respect of designers, right? You do that by empathizing with them, something that you mentioned earlier, right?
Correct.
So you don't really, like I said, you don't really have any kind of authority. It's just that you have to influence people and make them trust you, so that they are on the same page and they have a common vision. They share your vision, and everyone moves ahead on the same path. So yeah.
And while we talk about empathy with different people, right, across the board, everyone is sort of very different. And it's not like that a developer will be, or a designer will be of the same behavioral trait as a different employee in the team, right? As in a different colleague in the team. So your role basically, they don't have a part where they have to sort of report to you, but then you have to basically empathize with them a lot. So what are those top soft skills which you basically use being a product manager? As in, you might have some key skills which basically lets you smoothly run the day, right? So what would be the top skills for you which a product manager, like the must skills which a product manager should have to drive the entire team?
So for me, it was a bit different because I have been an engineer and I have been a designer, right? So that trust with designers and engineers comes automatically. I mean, yes, there have been a lot of times when I fucked up, but uh, there. I mean, when I tell designers that I used to be a designer, and when I tell developers that I used to be a UI engineer, uh, they smile and they sort of connect with me at that very moment, right? And there have been instances where let's say a designer is struggling with something in Sketch, and I mean Sketch is almost gone today,
Yeah.
but anyway, I could actually help them out with that, right? There have been instances when fresh graduate developers had been struggling with code. I could tell them that okay, this is how you implement that, right? For example, they're struggling with something in CSS, probably, let's say. I could write that snippet for them and tell them, okay, this is how you do it, right? So since I could do that, since I understood, the lingo of developers and designers, it was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was a bit easier for me to build that trust, to build that you know uh, influence over other people, over designers and developers. So yeah, I think that's how I would put it in my case. But otherwise, I think it's again, like I said, it's about empathizing. Like, you understand their problems, you understand their motivations, right? You try to understand why they're doing certain things that they're doing, right? It's actually, like, again, it's very similar to problem solving that you're doing in your everyday life, right? That's how you understand consumer behavior, right? You understand them, that's it. That's the key to gaining trust.
Got it. And what else would you put as a soft skill which you basically use in your everyday office?
uh uh, One would be, realize where you are wrong and accept your fault. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a lot of ego. In fact, no ego at all is the way to go. uh, don't don't fall in love with the solution that you suggest. Be open to answers, be open to suggestions, right? uh,
Got it.
yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that should help in building a culture, building an environment of trust. So yeah.
And like basically the point where you said that there has to be zero ego if you want to drive the entire team, and you have to sort of empathize. These are the big highlights from the past sort of conversation, right? So I'm sure that you would have been through a lot of awkward conversations also, where you might have to convince a particular thing, and मतलब सामने से response आता है that you basically it's in a completely opposite direction, right? But you know what's the right thing to do, and you have already talked to stakeholders, etc., and you have taken the decisions. But then some people love the product and love their work so much that they basically get in love with their decisions per se. So how do you have those awkward conversations with maybe a stakeholder or maybe someone who you might be working with, your colleague?
That's actually a really good question. When all fails, bring data. That's what I say.
Got it.
Nobody can say no to data. If you have enough data to prove yourself, then everybody has to listen to you, right? And since you're presenting data, since you're presenting facts, people might even respect that that fact that you're not just you're not just building castles in the air, right? You're not saying something that's out of, how do I put it,
Basically, you're not. Basically, you're not pointing out to things which might be mere assumptions, but you're pointing out to data.
exactly, you're not pointing out things that are mere assumptions, but you're actually having you have data to support your views and opinions. So yeah, I think that actually has helped a lot for me.
Correct.
So, every time you basically pitch to someone, right? As in, you pitch data to someone, or you, let's say, pitch a particular solution for a problem, or you basically set a vision for the company. So, you might have to present a story to everyone who is in the room, right? So, presentation skills are also something which I believe that a product manager has to imbibe a lot. Basically, they have to tell a story through their product. The story should be different for the customer side and different for the internal stakeholders, right? So how do you basically, let's say there's a presentation going on, right? And you basically have to tell a story. So just breaking down the structure of story, how do you present a product ka tech stuff related story to someone, and basically how do you motivate the internal stakeholder or an internal colleague to basically have that motivation to work on that product? Yeah.
Um, so again, that's also based on like anything that I would present, and anything that any PM would present will be based on a lot of research and will be based on a lot of data, right? They won't just come up with ideas overnight, right? ऐसा नहीं होता कि अच्छा मैंने ये सोचा and then I just designed a presentation, and then I started, called everyone to the boardroom and started presenting, right? ऐसा नहीं होता. There's actually a lot of research. There's a lot of customer data that goes into building a presentation.
Yeah, even soft data like talking to people, etc.
Yeah. I mean, even if you talk to customers, if you are able to present facts to them, then they also sort of have build that trust factor, right? That also builds that trust factor. They also start understanding you that okay, yeah, this person actually knows their shit, right? So yeah, again, I would say the same thing. Like whatever you present has to be backed by a lot of data, but has to be backed by a lot of research that you've done. So yeah.
And like when you pack that entire data and basically tell it to someone, right? There needs to be a premise, basically the conflict, and then it basically needs to end with something which is a conclusion. And you also need to have that establishment कि हम लोग ये करने वाले हैं, why this is happening, and what backs this why, like why we should do this why, and then the conclusion कि हमें ये करना है, and then the implementation part even comes in, right? You basically have to tell the entire story in a structured format. So like how has, like if you can recall the last time you were having a presentation, or let's say you're talking to even someone who is very key stakeholder in your company, how would you present your story, as in how would you basically structure your story?
Okay, so structuring a story is always starts with the problem statement, right? It doesn't happen कि मैंने ये सोचा तो हमें ये करना चाहिए. Again, I would say the same thing, right? But it always starts with the problem statement कि मैंने देखा कि customer को ये problem है, right? The customer has, let's say, one problem that back in housing that we were trying to solve was the case of imageless listings, right? तो घर rent पे लेना या whatever, we solved it for rent first. It's all about experience, right? मतलब मैं BHK price देख के घर कभी finalize नहीं कर सकता, या I can't even decide that I want to go on a site tour, right? It's actually the pictures that tell me that I want to go to a site tour or not.
Hey, hold on. Like, let's just give the audience some perspective on what Housing.in does. I'll just quickly pitch in between so that people have this context. So, Housing.in basically is a platform which allows owners of the house to list their houses on rent or basically for sale, and the end buyer or the person who wants to basically rent out a house, goes on the app, and basically the app works as a mediator between those two parties, and they fulfill the requirements. So what Arijit is talking about in this segment is that the houses which the owners or the people who wanted to give their houses for rent, basically they would use to upload the listings without the pictures, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that is correct,
Yeah,
actually.
So it's not just owners; it can be brokers as well. I mean, there are a lot of people who there are a lot of brokers out there who list their properties on housing.com, right? So yeah, that was one problem that we were trying to solve, and we started looking at different ways that okay, how can we solve this problem? And at first it was challenging, but then we realized that a lot of these properties that these owners and brokers might list are actually tagged with a lot of projects. Like for example, there would be a lot of property listings that would be tagged with, let's say, MR, a project of MR, right, or a project of
Correct.
DLF, right, and those projects actually had images. So why not use a simple growth hack where you simply pass an array of these images from these projects, and you simply pass it in the API that for that particular listing that was tagged with the project, right? So एक छोटा सा growth hack था, right? Very simple solution, but it actually helped a lot. I mean, there was jump in image consumption, there was a jump in in general lead conversions as well.
Correct. And it totally makes sense. Like, even if I would have been looking at that housing.in ka entire platform, right? Even if that doesn't like have the correct images which are attributed to that particular building, I would have some sense of what that particular house looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was a brilliant growth hack. Like, and small things like these basically add up to the entire metric. And basically, you don't need to do
Absolutely.
like I am a growth hacker, right? And I always believe that you don't need to do things which basically requires a lot of effort. Even if that's
Absolutely.
redirecting someone from a particular website to something else, it basically is a smart move. You have basically like solved the problem in 10 minutes, basically just by putting a link which can increase your revenue maybe by say 20%. And if you have the captive audience, you can maybe a simple growth hack would be to getting a product as an add-on or bundling different packages. Like there are a bunch of those,
Right.
but these are simple things I would say which a product manager should be on a lookout for. In terms of like what are these small impactful things, small and big impactful things which can actually add up to the actual revenue of the product and make the overall UX better, right? So,
Yeah.
what's the another cool growth hack which you have done? Like, I'm interested in that as well.
Really, so this was actually one of the one of the very few growth hacks that I've done. Otherwise, I've the kind of things that I've done was mostly feature capability, right? So one probably a growth hack, but not really, I would say. So. So what we discovered was that on housing itself, there was a significant chunk of people who were actually searching for houses from a particular landmark, right? For example, किसी को
Got it.
let's say Fortis Hospital है, ठीक है, उसके around देखना है, या किसी को they want to look at certain houses near the mall or maybe their offices, right? So
Got it.
there was a significant chunk of people who were actually doing that, right? And we weren't really catering to that audience, right? मतलब उनको कभी कोई specific मतलब वे में उनको, क्योंकि they were actually high intent users, उनका conversion rate was actually higher than the other set of users, right? And it makes sense when you look at it, because कोई अगर किसी landmark के around search कर रहा है, right? They know where they want to search, right? They already have a higher intent, so you need to do something about that audience, right? So what we did was ये भी छोटा सा ही है. So अभी I think it's not live on housing.com right now, but because I think they're rebuilding it like from a proper capability perspective, right? So the very small thing कि हमारे पास सारे distances होते थे, right? कि जैसे कोई पॉइंट सर्च किया, ठीक है, वहाँ से कोई भी प्रॉपर्टी लाइक कितने डिस्टेंस पे है वो हमें पता होता था, राइट? सो वी स्टार्टेड शोइंग दैट कि दिस प्रॉपर्टी इज 600 meters फ्रॉम द लैंडमार्क दैट यू सर्च फ्रॉम. मतलब एक बस लिस्टिंग पेज में वी जस्ट एडेड वन लाइन, राइट? कि 600 meters फ्रॉम लेट्स से Fortis Hospital, then 1 kilometer from Fortis Hospital, like that, right? And again we saw a jump in conversions for this particular category of audience, right?
Correct.
So again, this was sort of a growth hack. It took a bit more time than the previous experiment, but it did have positive results.
And like it's easy to do that as well because you have those APIs which do this. Like you have readily made APIs which actually can tell you a distance from a particular location, right? So also one thing which I would really like basically applaud housing.com especially is for, like I'm just putting the segment in. I basically use that app. One of the great things they have done is basically the entire coloring and branding of that entire basically the brand, right, pops out as something which will actually give you a shelter to live in. And the branding is so brilliantly, because even if you see the logo, right, the logo is sort of designed in a way that it gives you a direct sense of that it's related to houses. नहीं मतलब सिंपल है, मतलब नॉट डिडंट ओवर कॉम्प्लिकेट थिंग्स. जो बचपन में हम घर बनाते थे वैसा उन्होंने लोगो में दिखाया, एंड दैट इज एक्चुअली मीनिंगफुल. या या इट्स रियली मीनिंगफुल. मतलब पीपल लाइक मैस अप विद द नेम्स कि मतलब कोई बड़े बड़े नाम रखेंगे. मतलब इट कैन बी एज सिंपल एज लाइक गैरी वीज वाइन शॉप, राइट? Like he doesn't have to give his wine का name as Finiston या French का कुछ ऐसा अटपटा नाम है ना. Yeah, so that is actually something which I actually I love the branding of housing.com, absolutely. So one more thing which I wanted to ask you is that let's थोड़ा gear up towards the product management वाला side. And if let's say someone who is listening to this podcast wants to become a product manager or wants to basically start his own company, drive the entire product vision, and I'm only asking you in tech, as in the tech startups, right? How does that person start off as a product manager? What's the first step and what's the entire journey that guy should take up to basically become a product manager? Is there a set path which you can set up for them? Maybe a blueprint, or maybe something which is very different for everyone.
Absolutely. It's actually very different for everyone, but the point where so what I can tell you is how you can sort of understand whether you're built for product management or you're built to become an entrepreneur, right? So an understanding of should you be in this line, right? So the way I see it is you have to have a really curious mind. You have to have this mindset of always solving problems, right? मतलब हमेशा सोचना चाहिए कि चीज़ें अगर ऐसी है तो क्यों है, right? So it can be a very basic problem. It can be anything. Like for example, one of the startups that I actually mentor, it's called NetSips, right? They're still kids. They're in college, by the way. They're in BITS Pilani. I think they're in this third and second years, right? So yeah, the founders, they started with a very basic problem कि आप online कुछ पढ़ते हो या you find something really interesting, you try to bookmark that, right? कि बाद में आके मैं देखूंगा, right?
Correct.
But उसमें problem ये होती है कि you either forget कि अरे मैंने bookmark किया था, you don't remember that, or you sort of give up because bookmark ढूंढना is a challenge. At least for me and for a lot of people I have known, right? कि अरे इसके अंदर जाओ उसके अंदर जाओ and then figure out कि bookmark कहाँ पे है. So this was a problem that they had, and they had a few conversations with a lot of their friends, and they figured out a lot of people actually have this problem, and they started solving this, right? So what they are doing is basically they're sort of helping you organize and interact with your bookmarks in a very unique way. क्या होता है कि the most recent release that they have done is कि जैसे आप Chrome tab खोलते हो, right? So they have a Chrome extension basically, right? तो जैसे आप कुछ सेव करते हो ना, तो और आप क्रोम टैब ओपन करते हो तो उसमें आपको सामने ही सारे बुक
Correct.
मार्क्स दिख जाएंगे, राइट. सो यू ऑलवेज हैव दैट राइट इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू कि मैंने ये सेव किया था, एंड इट कैन बी अ यूट्यूब वीडियो पेज, इट कैन बी एनीथिंग, राइट. तो
Okay.
ऐसे है. सो दे ऑल्सो हैव अ डैशबोर्ड जहाँ पे आप सारे देख सकते हो जाके. सो या दैट्स हाउ you have to have a curious mind basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
And it's actually a genuine problem, right? Because हम bookmark करी हुई चीज को भूल जाते हैं because it's such a small segment of Google Chrome कि like we don't even feel like going towards that when the entire screen is covered by the new things which we actually want to look at it, and we miss out on a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Absolutely.
yeah. And
It's actually a big problem.
like how do they do it? Like, can you give me some more perspective on like how basically their extension works? Let's say I installed NetScript ka extension, right? Now if I click on that extension, what happens next?
Right.
So let's say you're on a page, ठीक है. So and जैसे आपने एक्सटेंशन इंस्टॉल किया तो आपके वो ब्राउज़र पे वो जैसे जहाँ पे सारे क्रोम एक्सटेंशंस आते हैं वहाँ पे आपको दिख जाएगा, राइट. सो लेट्स से यू आर ऑन अ पेज वे यू फाइंड समथिंग रियली इंटरेस्टिंग, राइट. तो यू जस्ट गो अहेड एंड सेव. तो उस पर क्लिक करना है, राइट. यू हैव टू जस्ट क्लिक ऑन द आइकॉन एंड you get a drop down जहाँ पे you if you want to tag it with something you can, and then at the click of one single button you can actually save that. वो तुम्हारे डेस्कटॉप पे जाके सेव हो जाएगा, आई मीन सॉरी तुम्हारे डैशबोर्ड पे जाके सेव हो जाएगा, राइट.
Oh, you have a beautiful dashboard for your all the bookmarks, basically.
Marks.
या एब्सोल्युटली,
Basically.
या एब्सोल्युटली.
Oh, nice. Nice.
एक तो
nice,
डैशबोर्ड
nice,
है,
nice.
एंड बेस्ड ऑन रिसेंसी व्हेन यू ओपन अ क्रोम टैब, न्यू क्रोम टैब, the latest I think 4 or 5 bookmarks that you've saved, they show up on the chrome tab itself, right.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So this is something that
Crazy.
has been recently implemented. कि मतलब again what happens is डैशबोर्ड तो है but वहाँ पे जाने पे भी you sometimes forget, but imagine you open up a new Chrome tab, वहाँ पे तुमको दिख गया कि अरे मैंने अभी ये सेव किया था थोड़े टाइम पहले, अब मेरे पास टाइम है पढ़ सकता हूँ, राइट. सो the context never it basically never goes out of context.
Correct. And it's a lifelong problem यार कि मतलब बुकमार्क में पहले एक साल पहले कुछ सेव किया था, and it's a great article. And I want to see that आपके डैशबोर्ड में like it will highlight कि यार ये तेरे को देखना है, ये देख. मतलब this is the important stuff you should look towards. I think organizing में like a lot of things basically which get organized is also a problem solving basically product which a lot of people come out with. Let's say this problem was very small, but it's so invisible that a normal eye cannot detect that. They basically thought through it a lot, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is something which is very interesting because I also know a plugin which is called Link Clump. Okay, so if you click that, right, and if you go to let's say you searched Arijit Banerjee, okay, now there will be a lot of Arijit Banerjees which will come in your entire Google ka list, right?
Right.
So now the thing is you have to basically find out the right Arijit Banerjee which you have to talk to, and basically you want to reach out.
Right.
What Link Clump does is it basically opens all the first page results in a browser, in a tab. So basically we have to click and open each one individually, right? It basically opens up all of them together so that you don't have to like go back, click that, open it, click, go back, click that. Like it's a small problem, but then it helps a lot, right?
Got it.
Yeah. So like would you also recommend some books or courses for someone who wants to become a product manager apart from curiosity? Is there something else you would recommend, plus any sort of book or courses which you would recommend to someone?
So books, yes. Courses, no. I mean, there's no course in particular for product management. I mean, people who say that we've built a course for product management. I mean, product management cannot be taught, right? It is something that you learn with experience. It is something that and by experience I don't mean number of years that you are in, but not just that, but the kind of work that you're doing and the kind of people you're working with, right? So books, yes, definitely, because book is actually has been written by an author, right? That is and this author is actually sharing the experience with you, right? And so yes, books, yes, definitely. Online material, yes, I would definitely recommend. So YouTube channels है कुछ there's one huge channel called Product School, right? I
Oh
mean,
yes, yes.
yeah.
I know about it.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, the people that generally come there to give presentations and to give talks, they're amazing. I mean, they're people from Google, Facebook, Uber, you name it, right? And yeah, matlab, they actually ki- help you build a good knowledge base of product management as a career, product management as a profession, how to get into product management, how to uh, like how to ace that interview in product management. There's a lot of stuff, but mostly on product management as a career rather than interview. Agar interview ke liye dekhna hai, then there's another piece of content, like there's a website called Stellar Peers, right?
What is that website? Can you spell it
Stellar.
for the listeners?
Yeah, STELLAR, Stellar, Peers, PEERS, Stellar Peers.
TEERS.
P for penguin.
Oh, got it. Stellar Peers.
Sorry, I mentioned penguin. I've actually recently started watching Gotham. So,
What have you started watching?
Gotham.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it actually shows the origin stories of a lot of villains, right? Penguin is one of them. He's one of the main characters, right? So yeah, that's why
Okay.
since I'm in that mode, I just remembered Penguin, P for Penguin. So anyway.
And like, how do you find time to like do things like this? Like, how do you take a breather? Because product management gets some very overwhelming sometimes, right? So how do you take breathers in between and sort of breaks, and what sort of cools you down?
Yeah, that is actually a very good question. I mean, it is really difficult. It is really challenging to keep up, because it is a stressful job, to be honest. And I'm not scaring people. I'm just, I'm just making people aware. Sorry?
It's basically very honest, because I've seen product managers working even after everyone has left the office, because they have to plan the next day. They come early because they sort of have to plan the day which they're currently living in, right? So yeah, so their entire life revolves around that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have to always find time for yourself. I mean, I always make sure that I find some time for myself. So the thing with me is that I sleep a bit late. I mean, I don't sleep early, and so I try to do a lot of things over the weekend. I never touch work over the weekend unless it's very necessary, right? Unless sort of the a lot of things depend on
On that particular module.
yeah, exactly. So otherwise I don't touch work. I do things that outside of work that make me happy, right? I enjoy doing a lot of things. I like cooking. I like you know uh, going out with going out for shopping, especially grocery shopping, because I love cooking, right? Like I said, I like to work out,
Nice.
right? I'm into fitness.
All the Bengalis love cooking. Yeah, ये मेरा stereotype है. Like, I have to break that stereotype, because every Bengali I meet, right, is basically into cooking.
No, so it may be a stereotype, but I think the bigger stereotype would be कि Bengalis are foodies, right? वो ज़्यादा बड़ा stereotype होगा. But love cooking, not a lot of people. I mean, yeah, there may be a lot of people, because generally people who like to eat, and if they're not lazy, they also love cooking, right?
Got it.
So yeah, also made since I live alone, right, I have to enjoy cooking, because you need to eat, and it's not possible for you to eat outside every time, right? It has adverse effects on your health. So yeah.
Especially now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you read enough books on the weekend to basically chill out? See, I totally. I can also tell you one thing about you, which is like know very slightly, because I've seen a lot of product managers do that. Okay, so even if you're not with the product over the weekend, right? You basically, the mind is sort of indulged into the activities which would support the product growth, as in terms of reading books or watching the kind of content, posting a LinkedIn. Like I've seen ठीक है, सैटरडे को आपका एक लिंक्डइन पोस्ट डेफिनेटली आता है, एंड व्हेनेवर आई स्क्रॉल थ्रू लिंक्डइन, अरिजीत बैनर्जी का एक लिंक्डइन पोस्ट वहां पे रहता है, राइट?
अभी नहीं आ रहा था because like I said there were certain uh,
Yeah.
challenges with my laptop, so but हाँ अभी फिर से आ
Yeah,
गया.
yeah.
But yeah,
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 yeah.
that, you are actually correct in a way. वो होता है, you know, you get, you know, sort of distracted by a lot of content, interesting content out there. You know, when you're passionate about something that, you know, it always happens. You know, you always get deeply involved in everything, right? Everything that has relation to that particular subject or whatever, right? So yeah, I'm guilty of doing that. But yeah, I do enjoy reading books, but generally I do not read fictional books. I have been so the most recent book that I've taken up is I think a few months back, a month back, right? A month back, a few weeks back, a month back almost. Is called Something Deeply Hidden, right? It's not about
Okay.
business or something. It's actually about quantum mechanics. So
Got it.
yeah, it's again one of my areas of interest. You know, physics. You know, especially the fact that it proves that the existence of a multiverse. So yeah, that's something that fascinates me a lot.
Something Deeply Hidden is the name, right?
Yeah, it's by an author called Sean Carroll. He's a professor at Caltech.
Got it. And what are the other books you kind of read? Like, what are the other sort of stimulations in your mind apart from quantum physics? Like, you basically want to go there, but like that's only possible over the weekends.
Um, uh, I like reading about influencing people. I have a collection of
Psychology?
yeah, exactly. So I have read books on influencing people. I have read books on uh, building a business out of nothing. Right? There's this book called The $100 Startup. Right? It's pretty amazing. Where you know it simply tells you that you don't need to have a lot of funding. You don't need to have a lot of resources to start a business. You can do it with whatever you have at your disposal. Right?
Correct.
So yeah, I like reading things that you know tell you how to be scrappy and influential and you know be more productive in your life. So yeah,
Got it.
that's what I
Got
enjoy
it.
reading.
Got it. And like, sorry to bring you back on the same question. Like, can you just quickly refer like 5 or 4 books which someone who wants to become a product manager can read? It'll help a lot of people if basically if someone is listening to this. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So I would really you know tell someone to read this the book called The $100 Startup. Right? It's amazing. You should read it.
Okay.
The other one would be The Design of Everyday Things. Right? That's again it's actually valid for both designers and product managers. Right? Then probably The Lean Startup. Actually, not probably, but actually you should read it. The Lean Startup.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful book. It is really. I mean, I loved it. It's one of my favorites, to be honest. The other one that I haven't, you know, I started it, but sort of ironically, I didn't get hooked to it. The book is called Hooked, right? So I really, I mean, it's a good book. I mean, it's a really good book, but I found something that was more interesting for me, so I switched to for that Something Deeply Hidden, because I had read a lot of business books, you know, so I wanted a change, basically, you can say. So yeah.
Got it, got it. And Arijit, so just like sort of bringing in the most the type of questions which actually a lot of people who want to like, I'm just touching the second bucket now, and basically going towards something where a lot of people are already there, but they basically are confused. Basically, the juncture where I was at an year back, where I was deciding between product marketing slash growth hacking or product manager, right? So, what's the like? What's your take on the technology, the amount of technology a product manager should have? Like, what's that thin line which you would draw कि इतना tech तो आना ही चाहिए आपको to basically talk to people and the internal dev team, etc.
Right. That's actually a good question because काफ़ी सारे लोगों ने ये पूछा हुआ है. And on a lot of instances, I mean, not just I mean, सिर्फ मुझे ही नहीं पूछा है, but I've seen a lot of people ask this question to a lot of people.
A
right?
lot of people have it.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
And I think
Yeah.
it's a valid question because you know it's you're actually working in the tech world, right? And you sincerely are in doubt if you don't have any experience with technology or coding per se, right? And to answer that question, I think you don't need to know how to code, right? Programming ani matlab, if you know how to code, then there's nothing like it, but you don't need to know how to code, right? You need to, however, understand how technology works. Basics, matlab API कैसे काम करती है, you know, how do servers work, right? फिर you need to understand the lingo of you know developers. JSON क्या होता है, right? Data कैसे भेजा जाता है, right? Front end क्या होता है, back end क्या होता है, how do these things interact with each other, internet कैसे काम करता है,
Correct.
right? Things like that. Keep yourself updated with the latest technology, developments in technology. That's it. मतलब इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं चाहिए, to be honest.
Yeah, and you don't need to be very in depth. हाँ.
No, नहीं, in depth जाने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. मतलब you just need to have an idea of things, right? कोई तुमसे ये नहीं बोलेगा कि कोड लिख दो आके. Nobody is going to ask. हाँ, Google के इंटरव्यूज़ में होते हैं, but again, I think वो थोड़ा far fetched है, because with experience you might even get there as well, right? कि coding आ जाए.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Basically,
So, yeah.
Google का जो filtering process है, I also believe कि they want a person who doesn't work in silos and is a overall sort of breed, right? But it sort of takes away the interesting part which a person has. Basically, if the person is unique in something, if the person likes to solve problems, then it's not necessary the person will actually love to code as well. Like this is something which I'm totally like I was talking to someone who works in Google and they told me the exact same thing. So their interviews are sort of harsh, but then like I totally believe कि product manager को इतना tech आना ज़रूरी नहीं है, but they should basically know how to talk to people when they're talking about tech, and they should know the possibilities of कि ये हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what are the other skills apart from tech? So those skills, can you sort of also layer those skills in terms of storytelling, sales, etc. If you feel that even those are necessary as well, even the customer support or all the skills which happen, like you have to be jack of all trades and master of none, right? Or maybe master of one. So you have to be into every department. So what are the other skills you would say कि कौन सी skill है जो particularly the product manager needs to have apart from the problem solving capabilities, like the technical skills?
Right. Got it. So a thing that goes without saying that you should have customer empathy. You need to understand your users. ठीक है, ये एक skill है. मतलब you need to know how to talk to customers, right? You need to have conversations with your customers. You need to be always, you know, aware of the fact कि customers आज के डेट में क्या problem face कर रहे हैं, right? So customer empathy is one of the most important skills, I would say. The other thing is have a good eye for design, right? मतलब डिज़ाइन करना आना नहीं चाहिए, मतलब नहीं, सॉरी, आई डिडंट मीन दैट कि आना नहीं चाहिए, बट व्हाट आई मेंट वाज कि इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी that you need to know how to design, open up Sketch or open up Figma and start designing a mock-up. इतना नहीं है, but you need to understand how to differentiate between a good design and a bad design, right? मतलब तुम्हें पता होना चाहिए कि ये अच्छा डिज़ाइन है, ये बुरा डिज़ाइन है. And by design I don't just mean visual design. I also mean, you know, you need to understand the customer flow, user flow. कि has this been designed in a usable way, right? And you understand that really good when you empathize with your customers, when you know, talk to your customers, when you understand their problems. So it sort of ties back to the first skill that I just talked about, right?
Correct.
So I think ये बहुत important है. The other thing is you need to be able to convince and influence people. You need to be able to sell your product, right? कि मतलब and by sell I don't mean कि customers में जाके बेचो. what I mean is कि convince people
Again, customer
internally.
empathy, right?
हाँ, convince people
Yeah.
internally कि हम ये build करना चाहते हैं. क्यों build करना चाहते हैं? You need to be able to sell your vision, right? That's really important. You need to be able to sell your vision rather than product internally.
Yeah.
हाँ, I feel कि ये 3 skills बहुत important होते हैं. Because sort of when you're trying to convince other people, you already and if you have them convinced, you already have them aligned with your vision, right? And that's all you require, right? When you're a product manager, you need to have everyone on the same page and following a common goal, following a common vision. So I think
Correct.
75% of the work is already done if you have these 3 skills.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So, like to just summarize quickly what you said is, first is that you need to know tech, but you don't need to know the in depth of it कि आपको कोड लिखना पड़े. आपको बस डेवलपर से बात करने जितनी टेक आनी चाहिए. The second thing which you told was basically you need to know design and you basically need to understand the user experience which the end user would have, and that is when the customer empathy also comes in. Like you have to sell your product through the great design and the great tech and through small solutions. So even when you talk about design, I would just give apne listeners some perspective on this. So even by placing a button, like the button where the payment happens, in a place where the customer can actually visually see it really clearly, is something which a designer, a UX guy, and a product manager have to look at, because that's a very important button. The submit button is really important. Like when Razorpay works on their product, right, and they make payment pages, they have to really think through where should that submit button be. It can't be between the fields. It has to be after when the customer has completely filled in. But the fields should be limited, because then customer should not miss out on the submit button and it should not look like a Google form. So all these things are basically taken care of, and the entire visual of it, that it's a payment page, defining that it's actually a payment page, you have to make a payment on it, defining that entire goal in a user's mind is basically goes into even developing a page. Basically, you need to understand the kind of users who will land on that. Yeah, so like I was just summarizing what you just said, so it totally makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. And also, it's a very famous question, and I basically, when I was doing this product management course in Upgrad, it came up in the forums a lot. So the question was that what are the questions that are frequently asked in a PM interview? This is a very famous question, right? You've heard it a lot, I guess.
It a lot, I
Yeah.
guess.
I've in fact talked about it on my LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
I think I wrote 2 posts about this question, what are the different kinds of questions that you get asked, right? So there are lots of things actually. I mean, but आज तक मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा जो मतलब being on both sides of the interview, what I've seen is कि 2 सबसे ज़्यादा जो questions पूछे जाते हैं, they are firstly the product design question, and secondly the problem solving or the analytical question, right? Metric first question basically. So if I talk about the product design question, it's again it has to do a lot with customer empathy and having a vision, and if you are able to execute it properly. So if I were to give an example of this question, then it would be design a camera for the elderly, right? Or maybe design an alarm clock for the blind, right?
Got
So
it. Okay.
these are examples of product design questions, right? जहाँ पे you have to sort of try to put yourself in in the user's shoes, figure out कि pain points क्या है, define a vision कि अच्छा ये pain points है तो मैं इसको ऐसे solve कर सकता हूँ, right? And then sort of define a metric and try बोलो कि अच्छा अगर मैं ये कर लेता हूँ, मैं ये विजन ये कर लेता हूँ, तो फिर मैं इसको ऐसे एग्जीक्यूट करूँगा, एंड देन आई विल जज द सक्सेस और फेलियर ऑफ माई प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड ऑन लेट्स से दीज 3 मेट्रिक्स कि अगर ऐसा हो रहा है, लेट्स से इफ यू आर डिजाइनिंग फिजिकल अलार्म क्लॉक, राइट, हाइपोथेटिकली स्पीकिंग, तो उसमें वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट मेट्रिक्स वुड बी सेल्स, राइट, कि अगर मेरा सेल्स जो है वो मंथ ऑन मंथ इंक्रीज कर रहा है, राइट, अब वो ईयर ऑन ईयर इंक्रीज कर रहा है, देन आई वुड से कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट जो है वो सक्सेसफुल है, राइट? सो इट्स लाइक दैट.
Correct.
The other question, problem solving वाला metric first question is इसका अगर एग्जांपल दूँ then it would be something like Facebook's engagement has gone down by let's say 20%, ठीक है?
Correct.
तो how would you figure out कि what's the problem and how would you solve it, right? Or say Amazon's conversions have gone down by 10%. How would you figure out what's the problem and how would you solve it? Oh, by the way, something that I forgot to mention, in the product design question, you have to, since these questions are very open-ended, you have to make sure that you keep asking your interviewer the right questions. कि let's say मेरा target audience क्या है, right? Let's say अगर designing an alarm clock for the blind, right? तो maybe something like, are we talking about every blind person in the universe, or are we talking about a certain category? Like there's certain people who are blind by birth, there's certain people who are both blind and deaf, there are certain people who are blinded by an accident maybe at a later stage of their life, right? So which one are we talking about, right? So ऐसे questions you have to keep asking, these questions, questions to arrive, to sort of drive your vision, right? So
Correct.
that becomes really important. And similarly for the problem solving, the metric first question, you again have to ask the right questions to sort of get to the bottom of why the things that is happening, right? Problem क्यों है, कहाँ पे है, what's the root cause of the problem, right? So you have to ask the right questions. Let's say Facebook engagement has gone down by 15%. So first question, what do you mean by engagement, right? Engagement का मतलब क्या है? So when they tell you, अच्छा, engagement means, let's say, assuming कि likes, comments and shares, that's engagement. That's how we define engagement, let's say. तो अच्छा ठीक है, like ये तीन चीज़ें हैं, इसमें से कौन सा डाउन गया है, right? Is there any particular thing that has gone down? Or is it तीनों नीचे गया है, right? And let's say demographics क्या है, मतलब कौन से एरिया में गया है? Is it a global problem? Is it restricted to some region, right? ऐप की प्रॉब्लम है या overall Facebook product की प्रॉब्लम है, right? You need to ask these questions to sort of narrow down, to the fact कि
किसके लिए बना रहे हो?
exactly किसके लिए बना रहे, क्यों बना रहे, क्या प्रॉब्लम है exactly, right? And then again you need to sort of define your vision. अच्छा, प्रॉब्लम पता चल गई कि let's say ये जो engagement down जो हुआ है, time spent, let's say time spent is something that we discovered is is something that has gone down, right? And ये let's say इंडिया में हुआ है, not at a global level, but इंडिया में भी tier 2 tier 3 cities में हुआ है, right? So ऐसे करके narrow down करके ना, when you, so I'll tell you why this is important, because a company, a product has lots of data, right? अगर तुमने उसको narrow down नहीं किया ना, you'll end up looking at every single thing, and that will take up a lot of time, that will take up a lot of energy from you, right? So if you ask the right questions and you sort of narrow things down ना, you have that specific point where कि अच्छा यही problem है, यहीं पे देखना है, right? So that's why this is very very important. You ask the right questions and sort of narrow down your problem to the root cause, right? So yeah.
Got it. And you basically like have to see it from all the perspective, in terms of you also have to ask the question, as you mentioned, like who is the target audience and why is the problem being solved. Also, it will be great if you actually know a product which is actually there in the market, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
But let's say if you know that, right? So this question, basically you have to design a Google Maps for the blind, is something which gets really asked. So yeah, the scenarios which you mentioned totally go in with what you should actually ask back the interviewer, so that they have a sense ki this guy is asking the right questions. It's basically,
Right.
how do I put it? It's maybe not answering the right questions. It's maybe answering the right, asking the right questions in a PM interview, especially.
Yeah, it's asking the right questions. That's what I said. I mean, totally agree with that. You have to ask the right.
You have to show them that the thought process is more sort of problem solving than more that कि आपको जावा आती है या आपको कोई और बैकएंड का एक पर्टिकुलर टूल आता है. You have to show them कि you are a problem solver. Yeah.
It's never about the solution. It's always about the approach. Solution गलत हो सकता है, but your approach has to be logical. your thought process has to be logical. That's it.
Correct. You have to be in their shoes and you have to tell them ki, is there a feature which actually solves that? If you can build on that particular feature or the new feature which can be basically introduced to solve this problem, are different sort of ways to look at a problem. So maybe like everyone who wants to give a product manager interview and basically wants to become a PM has to really be curious about different stuff. And like as
Absolutely.
we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast as well. Yeah. So the next question to me would be like the first question would be कि मतलब जो मैंने आपसे पहले पूछ लिया था कि कितना टेक ज़रूरी है, but a lot of non-tech guys, right, who are good at making products, who are good at solving problems, थोड़ा डरते हैं like to switch into a completely PM role. Like they just get stuck with something which they have been, let's say someone who is doing sales for a longest period of time, they'll continue to do sales even if they are a biggest like they're great they have great communication, they understand the product, they understand the customer, तब भी वो product management role नहीं लेते. So one piece of advice for those guys, like how do they switch? मैं समझता हूँ like a completely non-tech पर्सन उसको जितनी प्रॉब्लम आती होगी उतना एक बॉर्डर लाइन जिसको थोड़ा बहुत टेक पता है उतनी नहीं आती होगी, राइट. सो समवन हु डजंट नो एंटायरली नथिंग अबाउट टेक, राइट, उसको कैसे लाइक हाउ शुड ही मेक दैट ट्रांजिशन?
Good. That's a good question. I mean, I totally understand कि ये problem है, right? A lot of people are scared and skeptical, right? कि मुझे tech नहीं है, but then how do I sort of transition into a tech role, right? Because essentially it's a tech role, right? So uh, what I feel is then, first of all, you need to take that leap of faith. You know, that's true for everyone. Like in every phase of your life, you need to take a leap of faith, right? Even with entrepreneurs, right? उनको पता नहीं होता कि अच्छा मेरी कंपनी चलेगी या नहीं, but they have to take that leap of faith, right? They have to try at least, right?
Correct.
So the way you could sort of take away that fear is be friends with a lot of product managers. Let's say you're from a sales background, right? You definitely are working at a company that has product managers. Talk to them. Understand what their challenges are, what they do on a daily basis, right? Talk to them about your skills. Talk to them about what you could, how you could contribute to the product organization within the company, right? I think communication helps a lot. Having conversations with relevant people helps a lot. They sort of tend to give you a lot of direction. They sort of tend to give you a lot of advice on how to move forward if you are having challenges, if you're having any second thoughts about doing something, right? So share with people. That's what I would say. Share with relevant people, in fact. Yeah, so that's I think that's the first step that you should do to sort of understand why you are afraid and do you actually need to be afraid, right? And वो एक बार clear हो जाए, then you have to take that leap of faith कि try करके देखते हैं. I mean, I personally, I mean, although I come from a tech background, but I have personally taken a lot of leap of faiths, right? मतलब मुझे कुछ भी मतलब I always feel कि if you're thinking about something, you should try it out, right? Because
Correct.
otherwise you'll regret it अगर नहीं किया तो,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how that's what I would tell these folks.
Totally. And Arijit, so like quickly, like these are the two last segments of the podcast, and I would ask you these because like so that people who are hearing this get to adapt to the jargon terms we use in our daily jobs. So मतलब these are some just jargon terms which basically we would just give out one-liners for each of these. Okay. So, have you heard about the AARRR framework, which is basically the acquisition, activation,
Yeah.
retention, revenue, referral?
Right. Marketing.
Yeah.
Direct marketing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, can you define that quickly, like a one-liner or two-liner, so that people know like what we are actually talking about? What is this AARRR? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like a loop, if you will, right? It starts from acquisition and ends up at revenue, I think, right? The last one is revenue or referral.
Yeah.
Referral.
Yeah.
Referral. Ends up at referral.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's I think it's acquisition, activation, then retention, revenue, and then finally referral, right? So it's like a loop, right? Ki
Yeah.
you do stuff, you build your strategies to acquire a certain customer, right? And activation means that you make them do the first meaningful activity. For example, agar in case of Wink, if I were to talk about, then acquiring a customer would mean कि कोई भी आके install करती है, कोई भी आके app install करता है, right? Activation would mean doing something meaningful. For example, playing their first song, right?
Yeah.
That's activation. कि हाँ मैंने
Correct.
first meaningful task किया, right? After that comes retention, right? So if your activation is taken care of and the user really enjoys the experience, then they would come back, right? So that's retention. You're
Correct.
retaining your customer. You're not letting your customer churn. You're not letting them go away, right? You've built such a product
That is
ki,
basically
yeah, making sure that,
product
that
stick.
yeah, absolutely. So you build such a product that people keep coming back to, right? ये आपका retention हो गया.
Correct.
Followed by revenue, like they are retained, your users are retained, and now they are finding so much value on the platform that they would pay to get more out of the platform. For example, agar in case of Wink, if someone takes up a subscription, right? Monthly subscription of ad-free music, or subscription, any kind of subscription on Wink, right? Free downloads, for example, right? So
Correct.
so revenue is something that comes into play when your users find so much value in a platform that they are willing to pay for something more, right?
Correct.
उसके बाद finally आता है referral, right? So after paying, when someone has paid for something on the platform, they become sort of the advocates of your platform, right? क्योंकि उनको इतनी value दिखी है कि they have ended up paying, right? Paying for something is huge, right? Paying for something is huge. People actually don't love to pay, by the way. In fact, even when it comes to e-commerce, people always look for ways to save money, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying anything about that, but point is that if people pay you, it means that they have found a lot of value in you, right? And if they've found a lot of value in you, they've become your advocate, and that's when referral comes into play, right? Referral is basically you are spreading the word about that particular product that you have found so much value in to your friends, to your network, right? That's referral. And what referral does is starts that loop all over again, right? So let's say I as a user have gone through acquisition, activation, retention, revenue. Now I come to referral. I refer, let's say you, right? Now what happens is you start as an acquired customer, and then you go through that same loop, right?
Correct.
And then you end up referring someone, and then that person again starts from acquisition, activation, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, correct. So basically that sums up the AA triple R. So I'll basically just simplify things for if someone who totally doesn't have context on this. So let's say it's basically if you have a shop and your product is a simple packet of chips, you basically, to bring them to your shop, you put up banners, etc. Then you acquire the customer. Once you bring him to the shop, you basically show him different goods so that he basically has the first stimulation in mind कि उसको खरीदना क्या है. You basically show him options.
Absolutely.
And then basically comes the retention part. Retention can basically be submerged to जब आप products दिखा रहे हो उसको, basically you're talking to that customer, you're basically engaging him, then you're retaining him to that shop so that he basically figures out what's the right thing for him. हाँ, correct. And then he basically pays you for that packet of chips, and once he basically eats that chips, he basically has to find value in that packet of chip, because then he's basically going to talk to other friends also. So I remember Uncle Chips did that. Like they put a cool Pokemon Tazo back then, right?
Right.
And it
I
used to
remember
get
that,
a
yes.
lot of word of mouth. Like that was a brilliant strategy back then. जब that show was blowing up. Yeah. एंड लाइक एवरी टाइम मतलब जब भी एक इंडियन बच्चा 5 बजे ट्यूशन से आता था और जब क्रिकेट खेलने जाता था, उसके बीच में यूज टू वॉच दैट 5 to 5:30 वाला पोकेमोन का episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally
Yeah.
remember having a huge collection of Tazos.
Yeah. Same man,
And
same.
not just
Yeah,
Pokemon, और भी
same
थे,
man.
if I remember correctly. मतलब उससे पहले भी थे. I think Looney Tunes के भी Tazos हुआ करते थे before Pokemon.
The Pokemon thing blew up completely because वो मतलब
Yeah,
उसमें
absolutely.
Because Pokemon itself had such a huge reach, right? So they sort of piggybacked on Pokemon ka value proposition or whatever, right?
yeah, even the taste of the chip was something where they positioned it correctly because they identified कि Indian को थोड़ा मतलब basically they like things. Yeah. They like spicy stuff. और उनके Tazo में if you would have noticed एक बहुत interesting चीज थी that you can plug one Tazo into another
Yeah,
and you
and
can
you can sort of shoot that
Yeah,
Tazo at
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I remember that absolutely.
And this is brilliant. मतलब वो बहुत brilliant step था at that particular point in time. It completely blew up. और आज भी लोग Uncle Chips ढूंढते हैं, but sadly it's not in the market.
Yep.
Yeah. And the another jargon word which a lot of people hear is funnel analysis. Basically, just to plug in, it's as simple as AA triple R framework, but then funnel में थोड़ी और layers आ जाती हैं, and you basically have to analyze through different stuff. Like you have to analyze at each step, at a very minute step also. And also, there's this term called go-to-market strategy. वो क्या होती है?
So go-to-market strategy is it's pretty clear from the name कि आप market में कैसे अपने आप को launch करोगे, right? For every feature, for every product that you build, you need to launch it in the market, right? बनाने के बाद बैठे नहीं रहना है. You have to figure out a way how to launch that in the market. You need to figure out a way how to create awareness for that particular product or feature, right?
Correct.
So that's basically your go-to-market strategy कि कैसे आप अपना market select करके मतलब मार्केट तो पहले ही सिलेक्ट हो गया था, बट कैसे आप उस चीज़ को अपने मार्केट में अवेयर करवाएं, राइट? कैसे यू इन्फॉर्म पीपल दैट ओके दिस इज समथिंग न्यू दैट वी आर लॉन्चिंग, राइट? द काइंड ऑफ मार्केटिंग दैट यू डू, द काइंड ऑफ सेल्स पिचेस दैट यू डू, द काइंड ऑफ content marketing that you that's basically your sort of go to market strategy. Basic फंडा वही है कि मार्केट में कैसे लॉन्च करना है.
Correct. So like another jargon term would be what is MVP and prototypes and mockups. Basically, these are the three words which set in a lot of confusion. क्योंकि लोगों को लगता है कि same versions होते हैं MVP, prototype and mockups. Can you define that as well? What's the difference, etc.?
So I'll start with a mockup first. So a mockup is actually a high fidelity design that a designer would create, right? जो basic UI design होता है, right?
Correct.
It has no functionality. It just has the visual appeal, right? वो mockup हो गया तुम्हारा. A prototype is a non-tech version, a non-tech working version, if I may put it correctly.
Correct.
So so basically a prototype is used to test whether something that you're building is usable enough right at the design stage itself before it goes into development, right? Because prototype आप कब करते हो? जब आपने design बनाया है. It's used for a lot of purposes, right? It's used for presenting to your internal stakeholders. It's used for usability testing, right? It's a form of presentation at the design stage itself, which sort of mocks up the feeling of a real product, but it has no functionality. मतलब वो आपको database से connect नहीं कराएगा, वो आपको simple mockups के साथ ही build करना पड़ेगा, right? There are lots of tools that you use. You can build these prototypes in JavaScript. You can use a lot of tools out there, like I think एक principle हुआ करता था. I don't know if it's there right now or not. There's a framer which is a JavaScript based tool, right? It's basically how you present the experience, right? Static mockups में mockups are static, like I said. उसमें मतलब you need to breathe in, you need to breathe life into that particular mockup in order to give users or your internal stakeholders an understanding of how this product actually feels like, rather than what it looks like.
Basically the visualization of the
Right.
end product.
Correct.
And just pitching in sketches and wireframes also, these are important parts of when you build a product. Sketches is something which you can sort of draw on a sheet, something which looks great on a sheet, और उसके थ्रू बेसिकली द वायर फ्रेम्स आर जस्ट अ कंप्यूटेशनल फॉर्म ऑफ दैट, आई वुड से थोड़ा स्ट्रक्चर्ड होती है चीज़ें, एंड यू बेसिकली like put down your first thoughts, and as it goes through prototypes and mockups and then it becomes the MVP, the product actually adds up in each of these stages.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
another thing is heat maps and A/B testing.
So heat maps are basically, click areas on your product. Like let's say if I'm talking about a website, right? वो पूरी एक वेब पेज होती है, right? There's a web page and उस पे there are different places where a user would click, right? There are different ways a user would scroll, there are different places a user would click. So a heat map sort of gives you a collated data set of the places your users have clicked, right? And it sort of tells you कि कहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा concentration है clicks का, कहाँ पे सबसे कम concentration है clicks का, right?
Correct.
So that's the basic funda of a heat map. The places where there's not a lot of interaction happening, right? वो cold places है, वो मतलब blind spots है in a way for your user, and जो places where a lot of interactions have happened, those are basically your hotspots, right? वहाँ पे that's why the heat map नाम, right? वहाँ वो hot areas हैं जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा clicks हो रहे हैं. Maybe you can sell a lot of products over there. Maybe जो CTA है उसके साथ maybe एक premium product उसमें add कर दिया, वहाँ पे लोगों को दिखेगा, right? Because they are clicking there.
Correct.
So yeah, that's
People have basically affinity towards that area.
right,
or
exactly,
real estate
correct, absolutely.
So, like these were a few terms which I actually wanted to ask, and just summing up this podcast.
I think A/B testing बचा है. I think A/B testing we didn't. हाँ. So A/B testing is something.
Yes.
So A/B testing is something that's really important, and that's why I sort of wanted to talk about it actually. So
Correct.
A/B testing is actually an experimentation framework, right? Whenever you build something, right, and let's say you have a audience base of 100,000 users, right? You just cannot launch that feature or product to that entire user base at once. You need to experiment it and figure out कि हमने जो बनाया है वो एक्चुअल में काम करता है या नहीं, वो is that really something that users are finding usable, right? So that's when A/B tests and experiments come into place. कि you sort of break your audience down into the control group and the test group. So control group is basically जिसको current version दिख रहा है, and test group is basically जिस पे आपका test चल रहा है, right? A versus B, right? So you launch this your new version to your B category, and then you see कि metrics में क्या changes हैं, right? कि have numbers moved, like have conversions, for example, have they increased or not? Have the engagement metrics moved? Have the engagement metrics increased, right? So and then from there you figure out कि अच्छा ये चल रहा है, ये नहीं चल रहा है. Let's say you figure out that B is actually working better, right? So you have a successful A/B test, and then you finally start rolling out that B version, the new version, to your entire audience base. Let's say in any case वो अच्छा नहीं perform करता है, you roll it back, you figure out why it went wrong, right? You talk to your audience, you talk to your users and figure out कि क्या problem है इसमें, why did we why couldn't we live up to our users expectations, figure out.
Correct.
आप दोबारा से launch करो, and then that's how it's basically an experimentation framework where you launch your product and figure out whether it's working and resonating with your audience or not. So yeah,
Beautifully explained. And like just to add it up, like initially when we started the podcast, Arijit mentioned that housing.com basically didn't have images, and you basically did a smart hack by putting images of the same project which was there in a different sort of listing, right? So that also can be a form of A/B testing, that thing particularly works for user.
It actually was
Yeah,
an A/B
yeah,
test.
yeah.
It was actually released as an A/B test.
Correct. So you would basically expose 1,000 users to that and see if there is a jump in usage of the platform.
Usage of
not
the
really.
platform.
Given the audience base, you actually talk in terms of percentage over here. So you roll it out to, let's say,
Correct.
20% of your users, right? And see whether it's working or not, whether there's change in conversions, whether there's change in, let's say, time spent, for example, if that was a metric,
Yeah.
right? And then you see, okay, all my metrics are positive, all my metrics are moving in the right direction, so I increase my audience base, right? फिर 50% पे
Correct,
किया,
correct.
ठीक है, कोई नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट नहीं है,
Yeah.
ठीक है, फिर 70% पे किया, राइट?
Yeah.
फिर लाइक दैट यू सॉर्ट ऑफ रोल इट आउट टू 100% ऑफ योर यूजर बेस.
एंड मतलब बहुत सारे लोग इंस्टाग्राम यूज करते हैं, तो इंस्टाग्राम में भी एक पहले आया था कि दे बेसिकली स्टार्टेड पुटिंग द इंस्टाग्राम स्टोरीज इन 3 lines which a lot of people didn't like, and they didn't roll out to entire user base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And
I've seen that.
the main like one thing which everyone needs to focus on A/B testing is that the audience का जो sample size होता है 20% जैसा आपने mention किया, should be similar to that 80%. Like it should not have discrepancy. कि मतलब 20% exactly same represent करना चाहिए the entire set to which you are actually launching out the product to. Or else, if you launch it out to a audience which is sort of dead on the platform and expect them to grow, it would basically
Absolutely. It has to be.
So let's say you have 100,000 यूजर बेस, जिसमें से आपके 10,000 लोग एक्टिव नहीं है, तो वो तो पहले सेट में ही हट जाएंगे, राइट? दे आर नॉट योर एक्टिव यूजर्स. यू कैन नॉट पॉसिबली गेट वैलिड टेस्ट रिजल्ट्स based on their based on the test that you do with that category of audience, right? So you have to figure out कि let's say 100,000 में से 50, let's say 70,000 या 30,000, let's say 40,000 लोग similar type है, ठीक है? You need to figure that out and then उस पे A/B test करो आप.
And I also feel that A/B testing is now growing into A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H testing when you have to like
Multivariate. It's called multivariate testing.
correct.
Yep.
Like just to put a word out there, multivariant testing बोलते हैं उसको, and people basically, let's say if you are launching something, then you see कि other features, how are other features getting impacted, और आप club करके देखते हो basically A with B, A with C, C with B, and then you basically launch out PNCs and then see कि सबसे ज़्यादा growth किसमें होती है, because even that 1% of growth, right, adds up to the overall revenue, and it adds up in a long run when you are making a small change in a product. Right. So, and like A/B testing से फिर like just since we are talking about A/B testing, usability testing is something which happens when you actually observe a user using your new feature or your product, and you basically get insights from that particular observation, and that feedback loop is sort of faster than A/B testing, but it doesn't have a huge sample size. मतलब usability testing के बारे में what's your perspective?
Yeah, I think so here I think it's very important that you actually do a usability testing as well. Reason being, both have different goals, right? So A/B testing is more of on the quantitative side and usability testing is more on the qualitative side, right? So A/B testing tells you the what's, it doesn't tell you the why, right? When you do a usability testing, you actually figure out the whys. So it's actually so I personally find a balance between both quantitative and qualitative methods, right? I just don't blindly follow one method कि सिर्फ यूजेबिलिटी टेस्टिंग करनी है या सिर्फ A/B करनी है, राइट? या तो सिर्फ क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा देखना है, ऐसा नहीं है, राइट? आई ट्राई टू फिगर आउट कि बैलेंस कहाँ पे है. मुझे दोनों पता होने चाहिए कि व्हाट इज वर्किंग एंड व्हाई इज इट वर्किंग, और व्हाट्स नॉट वर्किंग एंड व्हाई इज इट नॉट वर्किंग.
Correct. Absolutely. And usability testing में भी contextual testing होती है, and there are other forms of testing where people observe. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. There are different kinds of usability testing. I mean, contextual inquiry होती है एक चीज़, right? Then there's in-person usability testing. There's remote usability testing. There are lots of. So the basic funda behind usability testing is that you observe a user, and it doesn't matter कैसे कर रहे हो. It's just that you have to put that user in a specific environment. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And then figure out how that person, that user uses your product, where are they failing, where are they succeeding, and why is that so. So yeah.
And like coming to the last question of this, right? A lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of other companies basically are going through this coronavirus crisis, right? And it's basically very sad to, like we are talking other day also, it's very sad to see people losing their jobs, right? And
Right.
when you open Airtable, there are continuously people who are just increasing there in terms of ki jobs nahi hai and people are getting fired. So like Airtable is something which I would give a special credit to in this podcast because that is actually a platform which someone has thought of, some product manager has thought of and built it out so that other people can basically give jobs to those people who have been losing it while like they can simultaneously get another job and they can be observed by a lot of people. Like that's a live view of like who all are getting fired. So like also Arijit, like one piece of advice for anyone who is dealing through this crisis, or maybe a product manager, or maybe someone who is working as any at any particular role, right? What's your take on this entire situation? Since you basically have talked to a lot of people, you have empathy towards a lot of people. What would be that one piece of advice which you would give to someone who has sort of मतलब अभी job नहीं है but he is basically a skilled person?
So the first thing that I would say is have faith. I mean, tough times, come and go, right? Like I said earlier, like I had to, when I was starting out, I had to apply to 80 different companies at least that I could remember of, and then only 10 of them, sort of got back, and got a call from like interview call from two companies, and I got selected at one, right? So you can probably imagine what I went through, right? I mean, difficult situations always come. It's a part of they are a part of life. You cannot do anything about it. The current situation is obviously very difficult, and if someone is out of their job, if they are sort of trying to look for a job, my one advice to them would be again something that I have talked about on LinkedIn, is you know um, first figure out at an industry level what are you exactly passionate about. Don't look at companies, right? Look at industries,
Correct.
right? And then look at which of these industries are booming right now, right? Which of these industries
Yeah.
are doing well? There's certain industries that are doing well. For example, music streaming, for example, right? For example,
Yeah.
video streaming, for example, edtech, healthcare, hyperlocal services, they
Yeah.
are doing really well right now, right? So
Yeah. It has boomed. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So there has to be at least one or two industries that you are passionate about, falling in this pool, right? There has to be,
Correct. Correct.
right? And
Correct.
that's when you sort of understand that okay, these are the industries that I'm passionate about. These are the out of these industries, these are booming right now. So let's say you select three industries that are booming right now, and you're passionate about those. Now what you do
Yeah.
is you list out all the companies that are part of those industries, right? Now automatically you have a list of probably 20, 25, or 30 companies that you could apply to, right?
Yeah. Who actually badly need people.
Yeah, exactly. They actually do badly need people because
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure on these industries. They need to grow and they need people for that.
Yeah, एक point पे आके सब फट रहे हैं. Yeah, because the thing is growth is there, but people are not there to handle it.
People are not there, exactly. People are not there.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
more people for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, look for these companies and do not go and apply for jobs. I mean, because recruiters get thousands of applications every single day, the likelihood of your application getting any kind of recognition or uh, uh, you know in fact any kind of recognition is very low. अगर LinkedIn पे जाके
True that. Yeah.
अगर LinkedIn पे जाके देखोगे, then you'll see that every job application has every job listing has like 200, 300, 500 applications, right? It's crazy,
Correct. Correct.
right? So
Yeah,
ideally what you
yeah.
would do is reach out to the HRs or hiring managers of these companies on LinkedIn, right? Tell them that you're looking for a new challenge, right? And how passionate you are about the kind of problem that they're trying to solve, right? And the fact that you have been following them for quite a long time and would be really interested in becoming a part of the team, right?
Correct.
That's how you approach them.
Correct.
That's how you sort of show your empathy towards them. You show your empathy towards uh, the problem that they're trying to solve, right? You show them that you understand the value of the problem, right? So that's how you
Definitely.
sort of
Definitely.
approach your job hunting if you're out of a job right now.
100%. And at the end, like I would also like to mention that just beautify your LinkedIn profile, because that, and just learn how
Yeah.
to sort of brand yourself as a brand, because there are a lot of profiles out there. So you, if you need to stand out, you don't need to apply somewhere. You basically need to get calls from different people, and how people will sort of approach you is by looking at your LinkedIn profile. Even if you're free
Right.
at your place,
Totally.
right? And like anyone out there, like Arijit has done that himself also. So at a time when he was sort of थोड़ा nervous about putting content on LinkedIn, he basically went out there and told कि यार उसका क्या perspective है, अगर थोड़ी गाली आती है तो कोई बात नहीं, आने दो, just put out your perspective, right? And that's how you
Absolutely.
basically grow your brand, your personal brand. Even if you're looking for a job, that's how, that's where people are actually looking at now. So update your LinkedIn first of all, and just take a course which actually tells you how to beautify your LinkedIn. It's basically like a small skill to learn, but it's beneficial in the long run. It's like those small impactful things which you can do to yourself. So yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Totally agree.
yeah,
Totally agree.
yeah. Hey man, like it was a great piece of matlab, for anyone it was a great piece of content, and thanks for joining me in this podcast. It was lovely having a conversation with you. I didn't know you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I didn't know you as well before, but now sort of through this conversation we have like talked a lot of stuff, and basically our vibe kind of matches. Like we basically are interested in the same
Totally.
kind of
Yeah.
conversations. So like
Totally agree
I
with that.
yeah, I look forward to having some more conversations with you late night at this
Yeah.
particular point in time when we are all both done with offices, and we basically have a lot
Yeah.
of thoughts
Absolutely.
to
Love
talk
to. Yeah.
about. Yeah. And I hope that this podcast gives everyone some positivity, some hope for the next jobs they are going to do. And
Okay.
thanks a lot, man, again for this power packed podcast. I loved this. I totally
Happy to
loved
be
this.
here.
Yeah.
Happy to be a part of it.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks, man. Thanks. Chalo. Okay, man. See you at the other side.
Okay.
Tada.